What if I told you that the very thing you've been doing to keep your family close is actually pushing your peace further away? For most of my life, I believed that a strong family was built on sharing everything. No secrets, no closed doors. I thought that was the price of love. I'm 79 years old, and I learned the hard way that some doors, once opened, let in a draft that can chill the warmest home. If you've ever felt a little less free after a family conversation, or found yourself defending a simple choice you made for yourself, then stay with me, because I want to share 5 things I've stopped sharing. Not to build a wall, but to protect a sacred space, my peace and yours. The first thing I locked away was the full picture of my finances. Now, I know what you're thinking. We're supposed to be transparent, avoid surprises. I thought the same thing. Let me tell you about a friend of mine, Robert. At 74, he was as sharp as a tack, proud, independent. He sat his 2 sons down, laid out every bank statement, every investment, the deed to the house. He wanted to give them certainty. What he got was a slow, quiet takeover. Suddenly, his modest fishing trips were questioned. "Dad, shouldn't you be saving that money?" His plan to buy a new truck for his boat was met with, "That's an unnecessary expense. Think of the inheritance." Robert, a man who'd worked since he was 15, started having to justify buying a winter coat. And here's the psychological trap. Once that curtain is pulled back, the dynamic shifts forever. You are no longer just dad. You become a portfolio to be managed, an asset to be protected. Their concern, however genuine, turns into a cage. The silence around your finances isn't deception. It's your final fortress of independence. You earned it. You get to decide how it's spent. The moment you make your money a family topic, your freedom becomes a family debate. Don't miss this next part, because it's even more subtle. The second thing I stopped sharing freely, the daily rundown of my health. Now, before you click away, hear me out. This isn't about hiding a serious diagnosis. Of course, you share what matters. It's about the little things. The stiff knee in the morning. The dull ache in your shoulder. The night you didn't sleep well. We share these things as small talk, as a way to connect. "Oh, this old body isn't what it used to be." We chuckle. But to your children, those aren't chuckles. Those are alarm bells. I saw it happen to my neighbor, Eleanor, a spry 77-year-old who still climbs ladders to clean her gutters. She mentioned to her daughter that her hands were a little stiff from gardening. Just a comment. Within a week, her daughter had hired a cleaner, signed her up for gentle exercise classes, and started calling every night to ask if she'd taken her vitamins. Eleanor went from being the capable woman who ran her own life to being a project. You are creating a narrative with every complaint. And once that narrative of fragility is written, it's nearly impossible to rewrite. They start seeing you as someone to manage, not someone to respect. Your minor discomfort becomes their major anxiety, and that anxiety manifests as control. Protect your story. You are not your aches and pains. You are a person with a lifetime of wisdom. Don't let a few creaky joints become the headline of your life. This next one. This is where I made my biggest mistake. Number 3. I stopped getting in the middle. I stopped trying to fix family conflicts. For years, I thought my role as the elder was to be the referee, the wise counselor who could smooth things over. I learned the hard way that the referee always gets blamed by the losing team. I once gently suggested to my son that he was being a little hard on his teenage daughter. I said it with love, with care. I thought I was defending my granddaughter. What he heard was, "You're a bad father." That sentence spoken years ago still hangs in the air between us. Not because I was wrong, but because family isn't a court of law. It's a web of emotions. When you step into a conflict, you become part of it. Your words, however wise, will be filtered through their pain, their pride, their history with you. You can love them deeply without loving their arguments. The most powerful thing you can say is, "I love you both too much to take a side. I trust you to find your way." Be the harbor, not the ship. Be the calm, steady presence they can come to, not the storm they drag into their battles. And speaking of storms, the next one is an internal one we often unleash without knowing it. The fourth secret I learned to keep to myself: my old regrets, the what-ifs, the I wish I hads. At our age, the past is a long hallway with many doors. Sometimes in a quiet moment with a grandchild, you might open one. You know, I always wanted to be a pilot, or I sometimes wonder what would have happened if we'd moved to the coast. You think you're just sharing a memory, a story, but to them, it can sound like a verdict on the life you lived with them. When you say, "I wish I'd traveled more," a part of them hears, "You and your family were an anchor." When you sigh and say, "I should have taken that job," they hear, "The life I had wasn't good enough." Our regrets are sacred. They are the shadows that give depth to our joys. But they are ours to make peace with, not theirs to carry. It's not about being fake. It's about being a curator of your own history. Frame your stories with the grace of acceptance. Instead of, "I wish I'd try, I've learned that." It honors your journey without planting a seed of guilt or sadness in the hearts of the people you love most. Now, the final secret. This one is about protecting the very essence of your future. The fifth thing I stopped sharing, the detailed map of my will and assets. We're told to be clear, to avoid fights after we're gone. And yes, have a legal plan, absolutely. But sharing the details while you're still here, I watched a good man, Frank, do this. He was 81. He gathered his 3 children and, with a heart full of fairness, explained exactly who would get the house, who would get the cabin, how the money would be split. He thought he was preventing confusion. He created a competition. The son who was getting the cabin suddenly started calling about maintenance issues. The daughter who felt slighted by the cash split began questioning every one of Frank's unnecessary expenses. "Dad, do you really need that new car? Wouldn't that money be better off?" Frank went from being their father to being a trustee of their future inheritance. He felt their eyes on every purchase, every decision. Your legacy is not a transaction to be negotiated. It is the life you lived, the love you gave, the wisdom you shared. When you turn your final plans into a topic of discussion, you risk turning your children from heirs into heirs apparent, waiting for the throne. They start seeing what's yours as what's theirs, and that changes everything. Protect your present by keeping your future plans close to your chest. Tell them they are loved and provided for. That is enough. The details are for the lawyers, not the dinner table. I'm 79 years old. I've learned that peace isn't found in a crowded room where every thought is spoken. It's found in the quiet moments where you are the sole guardian of your own story. It's not about secrecy. It's about sovereignty. It's about knowing that the most precious thing you have left isn't your money or your house. It's your right to live these years with dignity, on your own terms, without having to explain yourself. You've spent a lifetime giving. Now, give yourself the gift of privacy. Protect your peace, like the priceless treasure it is, because you've earned it. If this conversation meant something to you, if it felt like a weight lifted, then please take a moment to subscribe. I'll be here on this porch sharing more of what I've learned. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Let's protect our peace together. Take care of your heart.